Hello, good morning. My name is Deontay Marquis, and I am a family nurse practitioner and a registered nurse for the past 10 years. Today, the topic of our presentation is being an effective leader, how to direct, motivate, and connect. And I will be presenting this topic to you on behalf of myalftraining.com. So let's begin. So our first slide is our outline of the course for today, our course objectives. This is just a list of the items that we're going to touch on that I expect you guys after this presentation to have a firmer grasp and uh, idea of the different topics that we'll be discussing today under being an effective leader. So the first course objective is at the end of this course or presentation, I will expect you guys to be able to define what both a leader and a manager are, and also understand the difference between the two. In my experience, professionally and as a student, there are people who really push the difference between being a leader and being a manager, and also those who buy into those differences, in my opinion, tend to follow the characteristics that being a leader that separate a leader from a manager and a manager from a leader, with there being a more positive attributes, and just a better manager is, in my opinion, indeed a better leader, someone who's learned how to become a leader. So we're going to talk about what those differences are between the two and how you and I can become a leader if we aren't already one, and if we are an effective leader, specifically in healthcare. Our next course objective is at the end of this course, you will be able to identify the key characteristics and actions that separate a manager from a leader. So first, we're going to define what those two terms are, leader and manager, and then we're going to get into those key characteristics and actions by a manager and a leader that separate them. So how a manager will respond to a certain situation and how a leader would respond to the same situation, and the difference in those actions that make one different from the other. Our third course objective is understanding the different leadership styles. So, there isn't one way for someone to become a leader or to lead a group of individuals. There's no one specific style that a leader has to follow. And there are a handful of different leadership styles that one can find that suits their own personality, their own skill set, their own group that they are working with. So you need to get an understanding of who you are, who it is you want to become, and the group of people that you're leading, and then choose a leadership style that you want to model yourself after to grow into a more effective leader. So, we will talk about those different leadership styles so you can figure out which one applies to you and how you can apply it to your own position at your place of work. And our fourth course objective is understanding how to grow your inner leader. I'll put that around quotations. That's something I came up with, is growing your inner leader, because you may or may not be aware, but we all have some form of a leader inside of us. And becoming a leader is just a process of figuring out what type of plant you are, what type of leader you are, and how to grow that plant or your leadership, the leader in you. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Some things you can do to grow your leader after you've identified your leadership style that was best suited for you and your group. So, in my research, The definition of a leader can be a little vague, and in some it can be a little bit too detailed. There wasn't just a perfect definition out there. So when that happens, and it happens with certain terms, or when I'm trying to convey a point to students, I choose to go with a quote. So, quotes sometimes capture the essence of what something is. And in this case, when defining the term leader, Jack Welch, in this quote, really captured what I believe the essence of a leader is. So, in this quote, he says, "Before you are a leader, success is all about growing yourself. When you become a leader, success is all about growing others." So, in my opinion, this relates to managers that I've worked under. Um, Before they, in comparison to other people who I've worked with who were leaders, managers tend to want to, whether it's stated or obvious, their interests lie more on growing themselves or getting recognition for their own personal contributions, or just they have a separate goal, something other than growing other people, the people who are around them, the people who are working with them. They may not have a malicious or bad intent or self-righteous intent at all, but the intent that they have isn't to grow the people around them. And that is a key characteristic of someone who is a manager versus someone who is a leader. Is just their why, the reason why they are in that management position. What is their end goal at the end of the day? And if the end goal at the end of the day isn't to grow everyone around them, then their attitude, their style is more of a manager than a leader. Let's continue. Another quote by our own president of the United States, Mr. Ronald Reagan. Mr. Ronald Reagan actually had a great deal of involvement at UCLA, and one of their campuses is named after him in downtown UCLA. The hospital campus is named after him. So let's see what Mr. Ronald Reagan had to say about being a leader. He says, "The greatest leader is not necessarily the one who does the greatest things. He or she is the one that gets the people to do the greatest things." So again, just as the quote by Mr. Jack Welch led us to see, leadership is more about how you can grow the people around you, and you can measure who is a great leader not by the great things that the leader does, but by the great things that the people who are following the leader does. That's a great way to put it, especially when we're thinking about nursing. An instance that comes to my mind is working as a newer nurse with a group of newer nurses on a specific shift who were working under a seasoned nurse who was definitely a leader, and the growth, uh, watching how he gave other nurses courage and support, and watching those nurses grow to be just amazing nurses in a short amount of time, and doing things that none of us thought we were capable to be doing without his without him pushing us. So that is, to me, the essence of a great leader, is someone who gets you to do things that you don't think you can do, but they believe you can do them anyway. And you end up doing them and being great. Now, a manager, what is the definition of a manager? What exactly is a manager? We've read two great quotes about a leader. Let's see what Mr. Paul Hawken has to say about a manager. He says, "Good management is an art. It is the art of making problems very interesting and solutions very constructive that everyone wants to join in and deal with the problems. So see, uh, this is a great definition of a manager. A manager is someone who isn't necessarily focused on growing the people or turning them into leaders or making them better. It's someone who's focused on fixing the problems that's going on in an establishment to make the system work better. So a manager is someone who is more concerned about the system of how things are moving and fixing the problems, and getting everyone else involved in fixing the problems to make sure everything runs smoothly. So it's not that a manager is any less than a leader, but it's just there's a distinct difference in the why that runs a manager versus the why that runs a leader. So I hope you guys are catching that difference through those um, through those quotes that we just looked through, because from them we can get a lot of information. Now, if you're someone who needs a little more concrete definition, and you weren't able to really catch the essence of a leader and manager through those quotes, then I have the definitions for you that I feel like best define the two. So, under leader, we defined a leader as specifically nursing leadership. Uh, has been defined as the ability to influence other people to a point that the quality of care, along with their direct participation in clinical care, is all improved. So, again, though, you see that nursing leadership is influencing others. That's nursing leadership to improve something. So, I'm influencing other people in some other way to improve something themselves. And in turn, the result is going to be that everyone's going to benefit. The care, the nurses are going to be better, the care that they're giving to their patients are going to be better, the nursing system's going to run better, and we're going to have a top-notch, excellent care facility. Now, a manager, nursing management has been defined as the person responsible for a unit in a hospital, nursing home, or other care setting, who supervises staff performance and patient care. So, supervises. Basically, supervising is you make sure that they're doing things correctly. And if they're doing things incorrectly, you correct them. That's essentially what supervising is. So that is what a manager is doing. So now I hope you guys are able to see um, why it is important for us to strive to become leaders in nursing. And if you have aspirations of becoming a manager, that you first want to grow yourself into a leader, because now you recognize that in order for you to be uh, a great manager, you need to have leadership qualities and you need to be an effective leader. And there's a certain way that you can start your journey to become an effective leader. And that is what we're talking about today. So, what we talked about what a leader looks like. Now, let's talk about what types of actions a leader takes. So, according to the American Nurses Association, the ANA, some specific actions of a nursing leader include those that I have bulleted here. They oversee nursing care administered by others and still retain accountability for quality of care. So this sounds just like a statement, but if you actually stop and read it again and give it some thought, you'll see how profound this statement is that a leader oversees the care others provide, but still assumes accountability for that quality, because the leader understands that the quality of the care is influenced by their actions and the quality of care and the environment that they have set those nurses or healthcare providers in. And uh, the nurse leader takes responsibility if the quality of that care isn't up to par, because they understand that it's their responsibility and that is the level to which they are trying to influence other nurses to provide better care. Some other actions of a nursing leader is to abide by vision, goals, and plans to implement and measure the progress of clients. This is important because we need to measure the progress of our clients, of our patients, in order so we can make sure that we're getting better and not worse. We can't assume that we're doing a great job. We have to have concrete evidence to steer us in the right direction and to track our progress to make sure that we're only improving and we're finding the areas that we need to improve in quickly and doing so. Actions of a leader. Someone who's a leader, they are constantly working on their ability to communicate, to recognize emotions in other people, to recognize and control their own emotions, and developing an ability to recognize conflict before it arises and growing their ability to resolve conflicts, um, widening their skill set for conflict resolution. That is very important as a leader, because the leader is who we look to in difficult or stressful times, um, for some guidance. And actually, that's who we model our behavior from. If you think about a stressful time at your workplace, um, one of the most stressful times in the ICU where I worked, which is the nursing unit I worked for the past 10 years. In the ICU, the most stressful time is when a patient codes. And I think that may be the case um, for many of you. And inside of that room, a lot of the times everyone is very nervous. Family may be present, they're upset. Everyone's running around. We're trying to do our best to save someone's life. And if you don't have a strong leader in there who can set the tone by staying calm themselves, thinking clearly, and making sure everyone is doing what they're supposed to do, but not just that they're doing what they're supposed to do, but that they are taking their cues from the leader, then inside of that room, it can quickly turn into a disaster. So for me, that is one situation where it's always very easy to identify who is the leader and who are the leaders in training who are growing into the next leader of that group. And last but certainly not least, one important action of a leader is to be a mentor to other staff members. And being a mentor to other staff members, that definitely coincides with the previous bullet, where we talked about the leader shows other staff members how to behave in certain situations, mentoring to them, coaching them, recognizing their fears, letting them know that they're normal, and talking them through it. And like we read in the very first quote of this presentation, is helping those leaders to grow grow themselves into the best healthcare provider that they can become. Success in for them is growing other people. And that is the big takeaway. We're seeing everything come full circle to those quotes and how well that they define the essence of what a leader is. So that is the American Nurses Association, what they said the actions of a leader looks like. So now, the American Association of Nurse Executives also, just for comparison, I included what they said the actions of a nurse manager should be. And now, if you read through these, you'll see that none of them hint too much to uh, growing staff. Now, it does say that just like the nurse leader, the action of a manager, they do take responsibility for direct care unit, but not for the quality of that care. So they take 24-hour accountability and responsibility, but not for the quality of care. But we can, for argument's sake, we can say that they assume quality care responsibility. But the second bullet point, one of their actions is to carry out financial and administrative strategic plans in combination with the point of care. So they're more concerned with administrative actions, supervision, and finances for the unit. And also creating safe, healthy environments that support the work of the healthcare team. And this will essentially affect the patient. So this is very important as well for a manager. This is a leadership-like action that managers take, but it's not quite the same as what we have here for a leader. Specifically, bullet points 1 and 4 really, for me, drive home the difference between a leader and a manager as far as their actions go. And the actions here of a manager, this is by the American Nurse Association of Nurse Executives. So here we're going to jump into the meat and potatoes of the presentation. This is where I talk to you guys about the different types of leadership, because this presentation is about becoming an effective leader. So what is effective leadership? What does that look like? Effective leadership is a learned process. It's not something that leadership isn't something that people are born with. They aren't born, they may be born with some of the characteristics, but not to the extent that they are automatic leaders. It's something that is learned, whether formally or informally. It's something that is learned. And it requires an understanding of the goals that are needed in order to motivate people into becoming a better version of themselves, into growing into better nurses. It also takes a high functioning level of knowledge to apply skills properly for them to mirror and for you to be able to teach and assist them to build that trust and respect in your professional relationship with them, and also a high level of interpersonal skills to be able to communicate with them and, again, influence other people positively and lead them and guide them and motivate them and coach them through difficult situations, which are very common when you are working as a healthcare professional. We're taking care of sick people who need our help, rely on us a lot of the times 24/7, and families who depend on us to take care of their loved ones. So it can be a very daunting task. So having an effective leader in the environment that you're working is priceless, because it helps you to become a better, to perform better at your job. But it also demonstrates to you what you should be striving to become, which is similar to that leadership. And also it gives the family someone who they can trust and depend on, as they're not around all the time with their loved one. So that is effective leadership. Now, there are almost a dozen different types, styles of leadership. Some of them are similar and they just have different wording in the title. So I took the top 5, which I feel I've seen in my career as a registered nurse and seem to relate most logically to nursing. And we're going to talk about each type of leadership. And while we're talking about them, I want you to think if the characteristics or if the description of this type of leadership describes who you are or who you want to become, or if it describes perhaps a leader on your unit whose leadership style you like or you don't like, and make note of it so that tomorrow, today, a week from today, you can identify what leadership style it is that you want to mirror yourself after, so you can grow into an effective leader yourself. So The first type of leader is a servant leadership style. Now, a servant leadership style, it doesn't sound like a leader would be a servant, but when I read the definition to you, you'll understand it and it'll make sense. And it's a lot better than it sounds. Um, Servant leadership, it begins with a natural feeling that someone wants to serve. They want to serve people first. So if you think about that, that's just about every person in healthcare, or a large portion of people in healthcare. We all had a calling or a feeling or some sort of desire that we wanted to help people. We wanted to serve other people. And with the servant leadership, it's no different. Um, Except they want to serve people first. And then they make a conscious choice that they want to become leaders. So this is why I started first with this one, is because I said, hey, this really sounds like nursing leadership. This sounds like what a nursing leader should be. Someone who genuinely, naturally wanted to serve other people, and then made a choice that they wanted to lead other people like them to serve other people even more, or improve that way we serve other people. Servant leaders are, for the large part, humanitarian, and they have humanitarian characteristics. What are some humanitarian characteristics? Well, they have large humility, they have integrity, they are great listeners, compassionate, they retain accountability, and they are courageous people. A nurse servant leader seeks to determine the needs of their staff and frequently asks how they can support the team to resolve problems and promote their personal growth. So, in order for us to be leaders, we need to know where it is we're trying to lead our team. A servant leadership, a servant leader recognizes this and goes directly to the staff frequently to ask, are we having problems? They assess the individuals in the team, and want to promote the individual personal growth of the team members. So they look for their weak points and see how they can assist those members of the team to be better and to make them stronger. Um, I really like this leadership style because it's important for me when I'm working for my leader to be able to know what my weaknesses are as a registered nurse or as a healthcare provider. Um, and this is important because I don't want them to give me something that I feel like I can't handle, especially if I'm new on the unit, if I've had a tough shift, or if I'm new in my profession. You don't want to give someone more than they can handle and make them feel inadequate. This is going to distance them from you, because they're going to feel like you don't notice that they're struggling. You're not being a great leader. And as we just said in the servant leadership, uh, the servant leader is someone who frequently asks questions on how they can support the team and promote personal growth. Well, if you don't know that this is my weak point, then um, you're not being a servant leader. So that type of leader has to be a different type of leader. But a servant leader, this is someone who wants to lead, who is good at listening, who takes accountability, who is courageous, and who has a strong sense to interact and find out what the team needs help with and to resolve those needs. So that is a servant leadership. Now, quantum leadership. This type of leadership is also a type of humanitarian, but it's more humanistic, and they maintain a humanistic relationship with the staff, but they are more focused on the goals and problems. So they want to solve the problems in order to reach the goals. They want to just keep solving problems in order to reach the goals that need to be reached. So they're a little bit more goal oriented, whereas the uh, servant leader seemed a little bit more person centered, really wanted to know what the problem was on a personal level with the team members. Now, a quantum leadership, the leader is creative, flexible, and encouraging. Each team member adds value and contributes to the outcome. So that sounds, each team member adds value and contributes to the outcome. So this type of leader seems like someone who's very encouraging, who recognizes the positive attributes in each member and recognizes the contribution of each of the members of the team to either reaching or not reaching the set goal. Um, Specific characteristics of someone whose leadership style is quantum leadership: someone who acts with a moral purpose, someone who builds nurturing relationships, someone who acquires knowledge through listening to make informed decisions. So, does this sound like you? Does this leadership style sound like the manager at your place of work, or someone who is at your place of work who you think should be a leader? Quantum leadership. Now, the next type of leadership style is transformational leadership. Transformational leaders emphasize the importance of interpersonal relationships. They motivate staff and set high goals for the workplace. This leader is someone who is charismatic, inspirational, intellectual, and considerate of the individual. So this person sounds like a great leader. They're charismatic. That means they're charming. They speak well. They're nice. This is just that person on the unit who's very charismatic, who has great interpersonal skills, seems to be friends with everyone. Family comes and they're upset. We send this person to talk to them, and next thing you know, the family's laughing and smiling, and we're all wondering how'd they do that. So that's a transformational leader. This person has characteristics. They act as a role model. They motivate the team. They're concerned for not the team, but the individual followers in the team. And they challenge you to be creative, to solve problems on your own. This is the type of leader who I had, was a transformational leadership. And I say that because the leader wasn't very nurturing as quantum, although they were. Their focus was that the focus of their leadership style wasn't quantum. Um, they took accountability like a nurse servant, but just they were a lot more charismatic. They motivated the team, and he was very intellectual. So reading this definition just made me think of that leader, and that's always the type of leader that I've wanted to grow myself into, and who I try and model my behavior professionally after, is my leader who was a transformational leader. So is this someone you work with? Is this the type of leader you want to become? This is what you guys need to be thinking about if you're trying to grow yourself into an effective leader. Okay, so our next type of leadership style is a democratic leadership, almost like our democracy that we live in America. This type of leader acts as a catalyst or a facilitator for the staff, and requires participation of the group and guides them towards achieving goals. Also provides constructive criticism and suggestions for improvement, but relies heavily on feedback to continue improving practices to reach the goal. So this type of leadership style, to me, it doesn't sound like the type of leader I want to become, because just in my experience as a nurse, I don't always want to give feedback, or I don't know the best feedback to give. And if the leader is relying on feedback from the staff, they may not get the feedback that they need to grow the staff until it's almost too late. But again, in order for us to figure out what type of leader we are, we need to know two things. We need to know the group of people that we're going to lead, and we need to know the goals that we're trying to lead them towards. So maybe the group that you are going to lead is very outspoken and they almost give you too much feedback. Then a democratic leadership might be the perfect leadership style for you to take when you lead them. And now remember, when you're thinking about which type of leadership style best reflects who you are or who you want to become, your leadership style doesn't have to be your personality. It just has to be, like I said, the best type of leader that you can be for the group that you are potentially going to be leading and the goals that you're going to be leading them toward. So, democratic leadership. Now, our last type of leader of the five is a situational leadership. Now, these types of leaders are highly adaptable. They have strong critical thinking skills, analytical skills, very smart, and always willing to help. They have a strong willfulness to act. Situational leaders, they adapt their management style to the situation, and this makes them a jack of all trades. They can do just about anything you ask. They're highly adaptable. They never seem to get stressed out by continued change. Um, so a situational leadership is another great type of leader to have, maybe if there are a lot of changes going on the unit, upper level management, or maybe there's a low level of retention. So there's a new staff all the time, and the management wants you to become the nurse manager of the unit, but you first know that you have to grow yourself into the appropriate leader to lead the staff. So you will want to model your leadership style after a situational leader, because this will allow you to be adaptable, as all of your staff will highly be different in the coming months, as you have a low level of retention, but you have a strong level of clinical skills and analytical skills. You're willful to act, you're ready to act, but you know that you need to be highly adaptable in order to manage the group. Then a situational style of leadership would be the leadership style of preference for you. So those are our five different types of leadership. Now, which one are you? Effective leadership attributes. There are four main attributes of an effective leader, because we're not just looking for you to choose a leadership style. We want you to choose a leadership style and then become an effective leader. So, the four main attributes of an effective leader are someone who motivates, who's knowledgeable, who's skillful, and who collaborates. If you think about the definition and our conversation about each of these leadership styles, each one echoed these four attributes. They all said that they were someone who motivated, except for I believe two, which one was situational. But the leaders, they echoed someone who motivates the group, who's knowledgeable, who's skillful, and who collaborates with the group, seeks feedback, or maintains some type of interpersonal relationship with members of the group. So effective leadership, at the very least, someone who motivates your group, who's knowledgeable, who's skillful, and who collaborates well with the rest of the group, who seeks out collaboration. Now, according to the research, according to the research, what or who, I'm sorry, what is the best type of leadership for someone who wants to become an effective leader? Well, I looked up, I did some research, and I found an article. The name of the article is here, The Importance of Leadership Style Towards Quality of Care Measures in Healthcare Settings, a Systematic Review. So this was a systematic review of a bunch of different research articles. And what I found from there was here, and I'm going to share it with you. So it says that effective leadership fosters a high quality work environment. leading to a positive safety climate that assures positive patient outcomes. Failure of leadership to create a quality workplace ultimately harms patients. So, this excerpt, I included it because I wanted you guys to have an understanding of how important it is for us to not just want to become leaders, but to learn how to become effective leaders by recognizing that there is documented change and difference in having an effective leader in a work environment. And that change is that it creates a positive safety climate. So it creates just a safer place for our patient that almost assures an increase in positive patient outcomes. And the failure of having such a leader in the environment ultimately can harm the patient. So that's just confirming the importance and the impact of an effective leader. Now, a safety climate, the article also went to say the specific type of leadership style, which is linked to not just effective leadership, but producing a work environment that's more positive. So inside that article, the excerpt reads, a safety climate connected to transformational leadership style is strongly linked to improved process quality, high organization culture, and positive patient outcomes. Therefore, safety climate is directly associated with improved patient safety outcomes and the overall quality of care. So the type of leadership that this article found was strongly linked to improvements in patient outcome was transformational leadership style. So if you recall, this is the leadership style that I said I was modeling my my professional behavior after, because this was the most influential leader who I worked under, and it was a transformational. He was a transformational leader. So let's just look at this definition again. Let's look at this slide again. Transformational leaders. What makes them so influential that our article here mentions the strong link they have between a positive work environment. Well, a transformational leader has the attributes of an effective leader. They motivate the staff. Now, remember, motivate was one of the four main attributes. This leader is charismatic, inspirational. So someone who's inspirational is very good at motivating. They motivate you even further and on a higher level. There's someone who is intellectual. So there's someone who is skillful, someone who is knowledgeable. And our fourth key attribute of an effective leader was someone who who collaborates well with the staff. So a transformational leader is someone who's considerate of the individual. They act as a role model, motivate the team. They're concerned for the individual followers. So that's the key right there. That's the fourth key component of an effective leader. So I just wanted to point that out, that we talked about the four key points that differentiate a leader from an effective leader. And just in the definition that we went through for these 5 leadership styles, a transformational leader, inside the definition were those key attributes. Not to say that the other leadership styles didn't also have those attributes, but they weren't listed inside the definitions that I presented. That's because they weren't listed inside the definition that I found, not so explicitly as they are in a transformational leader. And then last here, it says challenges followers to be creative. So that just goes to show how invested the transformational leader is in the group, which is why we can see that from the research, from this systematic review, there was the strong link between transformational leadership and a positive safety climate. So all of that to say, I want you guys to look more into which type of leadership style you feel best fits the type of leader you want to become, or the type of leader who has impacted you the most in your professional career, and also the group of individuals that you're currently working with that you think you may want to lead, and use that information and the goals that you guys might be heading towards, and use that information to help you choose which type of leadership style is best for you. Now, if you don't have that information, or you can't recall, or you're not sure, or you still can't choose, then by default, according to the research and my opinion, a transformational leadership style is a great place to start for you to transition yourself from a employee to a leader, or from a member of the team to a leader of the team. Transformational leadership style is a great place to start. So now that we've identified our leadership style, we're just going to say I've chosen transformational, you've chosen another type of leadership style. How are we going to grow ourselves into an effective leader? So we have our foundation, and now we need to build the second, third stories of our building on top of the foundation. So how can we do that? How can we grow our inner leader? We can grow our inner leader by increasing our self-awareness. That's one way we can grow our leadership, ourselves into an effective leader. So why does increasing your self-awareness, how does that help you grow? Well, increasing your self-awareness helps you to develop your own willingness and a level of resiliency to learn from your mistakes instead of running from stressful situations. This will help you become more aware of how you respond to situations, your emotions to those situations, and then this will help you to be able to uh, have better interpersonal relationships, because you'll be able to relate to other nurses who are going through stressful situations, because you were willing to learn from those stressful situations. So now you can relate to them better because you've already gone through what they're going through. So you know how to help them, and they feel a very strong connection to you because of this relatability. Now, how can you learn from your stressful situations? It's simple. You can do this by volunteering yourself for the stressful situations. And doing this will help you understand both your emotions and, like we said, those of your fellow employees. So increasing your self-awareness can help you to grow your inner leader. Now, another way we can start to grow our inner leader is by learning to listen. Now, there is a difference between listening and hearing. I'm sure you've heard that saying before, and it's true. Learning to listen. So, in order to learn to listen, you have to separate your feelings and thoughts about a person or an event before listening to their concerns or what they have to say or their frustrations about something. You have to separate how you feel about them, or what you've seen them do good, or what you've seen them do bad, and you just have to listen to them, free of any judgments, and allow them to always finish speaking. Because if you allow them to finish speaking, then you're allowing yourself to listen, to digest what they've said, and then think about how you want to respond to it. Um, when they're finished speaking, you shouldn't already have what you're going to say ready to say, because that means you didn't hear everything that they had to say. So allow them to finish speaking and then think of what you want to say in response. Separate your ideas or feelings about them, and then listen to their concerns. So just mentally, just tell yourself, oh, I'm not going to think of that. I saw them and they didn't wash their hands after they left out of the patient's room. I'm not going to think about that right now. I'm just going to listen to their concerns or remarks, take them seriously, and I'm not going to think about how I'm going to respond. until I've fully heard what they have to say. So, learning to listen and increasing your self awareness, that's two ways you can learn to grow yourself into an inner leader. And for self awareness, we talked about volunteering for situations because you want to be able to relate to other nurses. You want to be able to develop your skills and your knowledge and your relatability and be able to grow those interpersonal relationships with members of your team. So, those two methods are very important. And there's a definition at the top here that I want to share with you about effective leadership. So, effective leadership, we're just going back, we shared this definition in the beginning of the presentation. It's a learned process, not a characteristic that someone is born with. It requires understanding of the needs and goals that motivate, knowledge to apply those skills, and interpersonal skills to influence others. So it's through increasing your self-awareness and learning to listen that we are growing our ability to lead and to do those things. Now, two more ways that we can grow our inner leader. In order to be an inner leader, you need to be able to show empathy and support to staff. Okay? How can we show empathy and support to our staff? Simple. It just takes some time. It takes some effort. It takes learning to listen. It takes developing our clinical skill so we can be able to help them when they need our help. And acknowledging the way you feel, acknowledging the way they feel about a situation. Just saying, I recognize how you're feeling right now. I felt that way before. You don't necessarily need to say something to make them feel better. It's all about the acknowledgement in order to show empathy, in order to show support, and being present. Um, you can do this by working through a difficult situation with them. If you see them struggling or if they ask you for help, go to them, help them, but don't do everything for them. Maybe work with them and allow them to resolve an issue is a good way to develop support. And what this is doing is acting as a leader because you're growing someone instead of just doing the work for them. Encourage them through their difficult time. Share your method to avoid whatever problem it was that they found themselves facing. And just foster that leadership in them. And then encourage them to share what you taught them with other people. And this is continuing along with the idea that a leader is someone who fosters leadership in other people, who fosters growth in other people. So that's how we show empathy and support to staff members. That's the third way that we can grow ourselves and grow our inner leaders. And last but not least, motivate and inspire. Motivate and inspire. Now, when I think of motivation and inspiring, it's someone who can uplift and has great communication skills. But in order for you to learn to motivate and inspire, there are other ways than use getting on your soapbox and giving an uplifting speech to the team as if it were the last 10 seconds in a championship game. You can inspire them by your actions, by participating in nursing organizations, demonstrating a sincere desire to advance nursing and that you're committed to pushing the team for excellence in patient care. Just leading by example, showing them your commitment, volunteering to serve as a mentor or a role model to new graduate nurses or even experienced nurses, or doing research on your own and sharing newer, safer methods for the hospital to do certain things, or advocating for the patient or for your fellow nurses on an issue, on something that you guys feel strongly about. Inspiring other people is something as simple as singing praises often, making sure that everyone is receiving a praise for what they did, because no matter how small or big what the things that we do to contribute to the team or our patient care, everyone's doing something right, or else they wouldn't be working as a nurse or healthcare or taking care of that patient. So everyone's doing something right, and we need to praise them for what they are doing right to inspire and motivate them to keep doing it right. And this is also creates the opportunity to provide constructive criticism after we acknowledge their hard work and what they are doing right. So we're getting towards the end of our presentation. But so this is one of the last things I really want to impart on you guys is remember, managers are assigned their role and leaders attain them. In order to be a manager, you have to first be an effective leader. And here, this is just an exercise I did to the right here. I was just at the end of this presentation when I made it and I went through, I asked myself, now what is an effective leader to me? What leadership qualities do I think are most important? And these are some of the terms that came to my mind. So someone who's self-aware, someone who's clinically competent, someone who's motivated internally and they inspire people externally. Someone who's a good listener, and because they're a good listener, they're a good communicator, and someone who is committed to excellence in patient care. So I want you to take a moment, think about after this presentation, what terms come to your mind. It doesn't have to be a list of 5. It could be a list of 2 or 3, and write those 2 or 3 things down. And I want you, when you're in your practice, to remember those 2 or 3 things that you wrote down today, and then use the tools that I gave you to strive to achieve those characteristics and foster and grow them in yourself, in your own practice, so you can start on your journey to becoming an effective leader. So I'll just give you guys a minute to complete that exercise. Just 2 or 3 things that come to your mind. Okay, and now we have reached the end of our presentation. I have 2 questions for you guys to see how well you were listening and how well you retained the information that we went through today. So question number 1, a nurse is attempting to grow their inner leader. The current nurse leader recommends that he responds to all code blues on the unit for the next few weeks. Responding to stressful situations will help the nurse grow their inner leader by A, building support and empathy, B, increasing self-awareness, C, learning to listen, or D, learning to motivate and inspire. So by responding to all the code blues in his unit for the next few weeks, how will doing this help the nurse grow their inner leader? Give you guys a minute here. All right, hope you guys were paying attention, because if you were, then you would have selected answer B, increasing self-awareness. Remember, to grow yourself as an inner leader, you need to increase your self-awareness, and this can be done by volunteering yourself for stressful situations. By doing this, you increase your self-awareness of your own emotions, of how you respond to certain situations, and makes it easier for you to relate to other nurses and develop interpersonal relationships with them, because now you have an even better understanding of stressful situations that they're going through, and you can help lead them and guide them through them. Okay? Question number 2. Effective leadership can be defined as a learned process requiring an understanding of which of the following needs and goals of the staff. So this question is select all that apply. Effective leadership is defined as a learned process requiring an understanding of which of the following needs and goals. So which of the following needs and goals? Give you guys a minute. This question is a little bit easier, so I expect everyone to get this one right. Okay, so let's see. If you were paying attention today, then you selected A, B, and C. Motivate, knowledge of skills, and interpersonal skills. Remember, a key difference between being a leader and a manager was focused on financial literacy. This wasn't a concern uh, or a need expressed under being an effective leader, but motivation, knowledge of skills, and interpersonal skills were. So we reached the end of our presentation. Let's do a quick review of everything we covered today. So under objective one, be able to define what both a leader and a manager are and understand the difference. We talked about nursing leaders and how they're defined as people who can influence others to improve the quality of care along with direct participation of those said people of the rest of the team in clinical care. In comparison, a nursing manager is someone who assumes responsibility for the unit as a whole. They're supervising staff performance. They're not as concerned about interpersonal relationships or growing individuals that are members of the team. They're more concerned with problems and reaching goals. Now, course objective number two, be able to identify the key characteristics and actions that separate a manager from a leader. So we talked about the actions as mentioned by the American Association of Nurses and also the American Association of Nurse Executives. So these were the actions that separated those people, that separated a leader from a manager. And again, we talked about how the actions of a leader demonstrate someone who's more interested in growing the staff members, and the manager is more interested in growing the unit and carrying out as uh, administrative needs of the unit. So our course objective number three, understand the different styles of leadership and be able to identify your own. So we spent a lot of time on talking about the different types of leadership styles: democratic, transformational, quantum, situational, and servant leadership. Remember, transformational was the one that I identified with, and also that was that we touched on in the research systematic review. Um, Servant leadership, democratic, quantum, and situational. These are all great leadership styles. Remember, when you're choosing the leadership style for yourself, make sure that it's one that follows with who you are, who you want to become. It follows with the group of people who you are looking to lead and the goals that you're looking to lead them towards. And last but not least, understanding how to grow your inner leader. We talked about how to show empathy and support, how to motivate and inspire, and how to increase self-awareness and learn to listen. And these are four main ways you can learn to grow your inner leader, that you can foster self-awareness and become someone who is able to motivate other people, inspire them, listen, become a better communicator, and be someone who they can relate to. And you can also develop your clinical skills by following those actions that we talked about. So we've reached the end of the presentation. I want to thank you guys for spending this last hour with me. Again, my name is Deontay Marquis. I'm a family nurse practitioner in Southern California, and I'm presenting to you today on behalf of my ALF Training. I hope that you took a lot from today's presentation, and I can't wait to see you again. Thank you. Have a good day.